Welcome back to Giants Mania. Today we're going to go over the PFF Pro Football Focus offensive line rankings for all 32 NFL teams. They released this list a couple of days ago. I think PFF does this every year. I figured it'd be more of like towards August or something like that, but they released their list here in June. So they ranked teams 1 to 32. The Giants, based on the title of this video, and of course if you've seen it by now, they rank the Giants dead last, 32nd in the NFL, meaning they think the Giants have the worst offensive line in football, or are going to have the worst offensive line in football. So I'll read what they had to say first. They wrote about 5 or 6 paragraphs here, PFF. I'll read what they wrote, and we'll kind of react to it afterwards, and I'll give my reaction to it. But leave in the comments how you feel about this ranking. Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's nonsense? Do you think it's egregious? Let me know how you guys feel about it, and let's get into it. So before we get into it, I want to talk about PFF and their relationship with fan bases in the NFL. So this is definitely prevalent on Giants Twitter. I don't know about other fan bases. It's probably the same way. But usually with PFF, if they support your team, oh, Giancarlo, another home run. Wow, okay. 2 for Giancarlo. But anyway, usually if PFF supports your team, people love them. They're like, oh, look at this stat. And, they'll like retweet it and things like that. But if PFF says something bad or negative about your team, people have this reaction of, oh, what the hell does PFF know? It's garbage and all that. So there are people that play both sides, which is pretty annoying. I personally like to use PFF as like a tool in the toolbox type thing. I like their offensive line grades and things like that. There's a lot of good stats in there as well, because it's hard to really notice every offensive lineman. So I kind of trust their opinion on these offensive linemen because they watch every play. So I will say, I do kind of take their opinions into consideration. It's not the be-all, end-all, of course, but I feel like they do know what they're talking about most times. They do say some stupid stuff here and there. I remember one time they thought Golden Tate was more valuable than Myles Garrett. Never understood that take, but that's just one guy. It's not the whole PFF company. But anyway, so let's get into it. Let's read it here. So number 32, New York Giants. Giants offensive linemen have combined to produce the 5th worst overall grade in the league over the past 2 years, and they rank in the bottom 8 in both pass blocking and run blocking. Starting left tackle Nate Solder opted out in 2020, which hurt their team's depth up front. First rounder Andrew Thomas started at left tackle and struggled to a 62.4 overall grade. His 54.7 pass blocking grade also ranked just 82nd out of 89 qualifiers. Solder is currently in the mix to start at right tackle, a position he has not played since his rookie year in 2011. In his 2 years in New York, Solder posted a solid 75.7 grade and a career-low 64.9 mark. He could be a cap casualty before the season. I don't know if I agree with that part. Matt Peart, a 2020 third-rounder, is competing at right tackle after grading out at 69.7 overall on 150 snaps as a rookie. Peart enjoyed a good career at UConn and is young at the position, so he has starting potential at some points. On the interior, Nick Gates returns after moving to center for the first time in his career in 2020. He managed just a 59.7 grade, though, ranking 29th amongst centers. Guard is wide open, with several players battling for 2 starting spots. Will Hernandez is a 3-year starter at left guard, although he has not graded over 60 since his rookie season. Shane Lemieux played 504 snaps last year and struggled to a 32.2 overall grade. Zach Fulton is also in the mix after recording a 63 overall grade last season, ranking 44th among 86 qualifying guards. For perspective, former Giants starter Kevin Zeitler earned a 65.9 overall grade, though that's the only time in his career with a season mark below 73. Kenny Wiggins and Jonathan Harrison also have starting experience, but neither have graded above 62.1 in any of their respective NFL careers. The bottom line is that the Giants' offensive line is a massive question mark. That's something I say personally all the time. They need their young players to develop and their veterans to provide career years just to rank in the middle of the pack for 2021. All right, so to react to what I just read here, there was a lot of Nate Solder talk in the beginning, talking about how he graded as a 75.7 back in 2018, then a career low 64.9 in 2019. That makes a lot of sense. They said Solder's in the mix for right tackle to start there. I still think it's Matt Peart's job to lose. I don't see him. There's a fly on my hat. That's disgusting. Okay. Anyway, I don't really expect to see Nate Solder starting week 1. Anything could happen, of course. Now he's on Odell's head. This fly needs to get the F out of here. What are we doing? All right. Trying to make a video here. But anyway, talked about Andrew Thomas a little bit. They gave him a 62.4 overall grade last year, a 54.7 in pass blocking grade, 82nd out of 89 qualifiers. that has to be much better. Now, I'm on record saying this. I said it on Twitter the other day. I think Andrew Thomas will have a very good season next year, a bounce back season. I think he's way too talented to be that bad. He was playing on a bad ankle, I believe, as well. So I expect Andrew Thomas to bounce back next year. Hopefully that's right. We'll find out, of course. Matt Parrott, they talked about a little bit, a guy that has potential, graded at a 69.7 last year on 150 snaps. They mentioned him having a lot of potential, so that's definitely encouraging to see. So for the interior guys, this one kind of threw me off. Nick Gates was given a 59.7 grade. I kind of expected something in the high 60s, low 70s. I was not expecting a 59.7 for Nick Gates. And I'm not going to act like I remember every single snap of Nick Gates last year, but I went back, of course, and did the film reviews. I watched every game with a naked eye, and I didn't feel like Nick Gates was that bad. I feel like a 59's below average once again, so that's not the best grade. So, yeah, I was a little disappointed to see that grade, but, I mean, still, I feel like he played better than the 29th best center in the NFL, so that's just my opinion. I know they have theirs, but Will Hernandez, they talked about, has not had an over a 60.0 grade since his rookie season. I do believe that. I think Will Hernandez, as I've said before, is going to start at left guard. I could be wrong about that. We'll find out. Shane Lemieux, they talked about, had a 32.2 grade last year. 32.2 is one of the worst grades I've ever seen, and that can't get much worse. So I do think Shane Lemieux will improve. It depends how much he improves, of course. They mentioned Zach Fulton. He's been average throughout his career, basically. He had a couple of decent seasons, some underwhelming seasons, so I don't know what to expect from Fulton, but I don't think he's that bad. I've talked about him in the past. They mentioned Kevin Zeitler, losing him. That, of course, is going to be a big loss for this offensive line. But they did mention Zeitler had his lowest grade for them, a 65.9 in his career last year, so maybe Zeitler's on a decline. We'll find out. But as I said on the bottom here, I like that they said this, the offensive line is a massive question mark. I've said that before in previous videos. I don't want to come out and say the Giants' offensive line sucks and they're hopeless, because if just a couple of these young guys turn out to be good, like let's say Andrew Thomas turns into the guy I think he can be and ends up being like a top 10 left tackle in football, it might not happen until year 3 or year 4, but if he somehow speeds up the process and is that good by next year, this offensive line could be league average. I don't think it probably won't be. Like if Andrew Thomas plays at an all-pro level or a Pro Bowl level, I'll say that. If he plays at a Pro Bowl level, this offensive line might go from worst in the league to league average. Like having a good left tackle, a very good left tackle, can make a big difference. And if Matt Parrott can, turn into a serviceable starter in year 2, that will help a lot. If either Shane Lemieux, Will Hernandez, one of those guys comes on and plays well, that'll be a great help for this team. And if Zach Fulton comes in and gives them good snaps. So there's a lot of ifs. I'm saying if a ton here. I get that. And that's why when I see the Giants offensive line ranked 32, I don't really throw a fit. I'm like, hey, I get it. The Giants offensive line was not good last year. They have not been good in a long time. They're very young. There's a lot of inexperience here. And not many guys on this offensive line have proven anything. Like, who's a guy on this offensive line that has a track record of being a very good offensive lineman? Like, the only move they made this offseason at the offensive line was signing Zach Fulton. Okay, there's your below-average right guard right there. I know Andrew Thomas was a former 4th overall pick, has not really proven much in the NFL. He had a handful, 5, 6, 7 games of playing well last year, but has not been consistent. Matt Parrott has shown flashes. He's not anything great yet. I do hope he gets there, of course, but that's why I can't be mad at PFF for this ranking. I mean, there are teams ranked ahead of the Giants that I'm kind of like, like the Panthers. The Panthers have a very rough left tackle situation, their left guard situation as well. The Jets, I know the Jets got Elijah Vera-Tucker, Mekhi Becton. Their center, Connor McGovern, could get better, but still, the Jets have been a pretty bad offensive line as well. So there are teams ranked ahead of the Giants where I'm like, I don't know about that. So I don't know if I put the Giants last. Now, I do think if I was making a list, I would have the Giants in the bottom 10, that's for sure. I don't know how much lower I'd have them, but to see them at 32, use this as motivation. If you are Rob Sale, the Giants offensive line coach, put this graphic, put this website page up in front of your guys and say, hey, they think you're the worst offensive line in football. Use that as motivation. Put that in all their lockers and have that blurb of everything they've said about this offensive line. Put number 32 next to it. Motivate these guys. If you're Joe Judge, Rob Sale, whoever, make sure you put this in front of those guys and tell them, hey, they think you guys are going to suck this year. Use that as motivation. And I'm not going to let some PFF list get me triggered here and all that. I don't really care. But at the same time, I understand where they're coming from, but I hope as a fan that these young guys develop and the offensive line becomes pretty good. I'm not I'm not expecting the Giants to have a top 10 offensive line. I feel like that's kind of an unrealistic expectation, but if the Giants have a league average offensive line next year, plus hopefully Daniel Jones comes around and plays much better, plus adding all the weapons, they could have a good offense next year. It's not going to be a top 5 offense, but a good offense, a top 15 offense or so. That would definitely help this team a ton with having a good defense already. Like, the Giants don't have to have a top 10 offensive line, but if it's an average, serviceable offensive line that does not get Daniel Jones consistently killed, does not, get Saquon Barkley stuff in the backfield consistently, they'll be fine. So the offensive line, while it can't suck, it needs to be at least average. That's what I'm hoping for. That's a realistic expectation. If they do any better than average, that's a huge, massive W. I will take that, of course. So we'll find out. But I'm not outraged by number 32 overall. I get it. The offensive line here, ton of questions, so I can't be mad at that. So that'll do it for this video. Leave a like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed. Thank you if you made it this far. Let me know in the comments once again, do you guys think PFF is crazy for this ranking? Do you think it's fair? Do you agree? Let me know how you guys feel, but hopefully the Giants do have a closer to league average offensive line than having the worst offensive line, because things would not go so well if that was the case, and hopefully the Giants find a way to have a good offense in 2021. So I'll talk to you guys next time. Trying to think what my next video is. I think we have a Daniel Jones hype video. I'll have that coming out at some point in the next couple weeks. That should be a good video. And maybe I'll react to something Stephen A. Smith said a couple weeks ago. It's kind of old, but he said Daniel Jones is going to be the worst quarterback in the NFC East. If you guys want a video reacting to that, I can do that. I'll play what they said and kind of react to it. That should be fun. But let me know if you guys want that. And I'll talk to you guys next time.